Hi, welcome back to Joe Blogs. In today's episode, I want to provide you with a very quick update as to what's happening over at FTX with Sam Bankman-Fried and all of his friends and family. Now, if you've been following the channel, you'll know that I haven't posted a video on cryptocurrency for a very long time. In fact, I think the last video that I did post was around the time when Sam Bankman-Fried was being arrested, and there was lots of excitement about where his ex-girlfriend Caroline Ellison, who he'd installed as the chief executive of Alameda Research, had disappeared to. But she was subsequently tracked down by the FBI and pleaded guilty to all charges. However, Sam Bankman-Fried has pleaded not guilty to everything. He's saying that it was all a misunderstanding, he may have made a few mistakes running the business, but that there was absolutely nothing fraudulent going on. Now, initially Sam Bankman-Fried was released on bail and was actually staying at his parents' house under house arrest. However, after leaking certain extracts from messages that had been sent to him by Caroline Ellison, the courts decided that he was trying to tamper with a witness, and so he got taken to jail. His bail was rescinded. And the trial of SBF has now started in New York. And initially I was going to include this in a longer video that I'm preparing on cryptocurrency and the markets. However, after the poll I posted recently, the feedback was that people wanted to see some shorter videos. So on the basis of that feedback, I've decided to take the FTX part out of that video and publish it as a separate shorter video. So in today's video, we'll have a whistle-stop tour of what's going on with the trial. We'll also talk about the fact that Sam Bankman-Fried's parents are now being sued for over $10 million for their part in this fraud. We'll hear what charges Sam Bankman-Fried is facing and what his defence is with regards to those charges. And then we'll see exactly what Caroline Ellison has said in court, because she's been appearing in New York over the course of the last couple of days. And then finally today, I'll wrap up with my summary as to what I think is likely to happen at the end of this trial and whether or not Sam Bankman-Fried will actually be convicted of 115 years in jail. Now, before we get started on all of that, once again, I'd like to say thank you so much for the great comments that you've been posting below. Really appreciate that. Please keep them coming. And if you'd like to see more face-to-face videos like this without any adverts, then please check out my Patreon channel. However, if you don't like Patreon and you'd like to support the channel, please have a look below where you'll find links to buy me a coffee, as well as YouTube's Super Thanks and membership scheme.
Sam Bankman-Fried considered paying Donald Trump not to run for re-election. That's according to excerpts from a forthcoming book revealed over the weekend. The Washington Post published a passage from Going Infinite, The Rise and Fall of a New Tycoon by Michael Lewis. In it, the writer says Bankman-Fried told him that he explored paying Trump not to stand again in 2020. Lewis says the then boss of crypto firm FTX had a back channel to the re-election campaign team.
Make America great again.
Through this came word, Lewis says, that Trump would consider stepping aside for $5 billion. The excerpt did not say why the deal never went ahead. Lewis also claims that Bankman-Fried was planning to give up to $30 million to Republican Senator Mitch McConnell to help defeat ardently pro-Trump candidates.
Bankrupt crypto exchange FTX sued the parents of founder Sam Bankman-Fried on Monday, saying they enriched themselves with company funds. FTX is now led by John Ray, an expert in helping companies recover assets after bankruptcy. It's clawed back more than $7 billion so far since its bankruptcy in November 2022, after it emerged an inside circle at FTX benefited from misappropriating billions in customer funds. The FTX lawsuit on Monday alleges Joseph Bankman and Barbara Fried, both Stanford University professors, of accepting a $10 million cash gift and a $16 million luxury property in the Bahamas, and that they pushed FTX to make tens of millions of dollars in donations, including to Stanford University. The lawsuit said the company founder Sam Bankman-Fried ran it as a family business. It said his father, Joseph Bankman, a scholar in tax law, positioned himself as the adult in the room in the company, but stayed silent when he saw warning signs of fraud, and he did little to prevent customer funds from being misappropriated. Meanwhile, Barbara Fried, the mother, was the strongest influence on FTX's political contributions, causing FTX's former leaders to siphon millions directly to a political action committee she co-founded. Attorneys representing the parents in a statement called FTX's claims completely false. The parents of disgraced FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried arrived for the second day of his trial in Manhattan Wednesday, where lawyers and prosecutors clashed over the question of why their son's exchange collapsed, due to massive fraud or whether he simply made mistakes. Sitting in court in a suit, tie and uncharacteristic trim haircut, Bankman-Fried was portrayed by his attorney on Wednesday as a math nerd who overlooked risk management in building FTX but did not steal customer money. While prosecutor Thane Wren said Bankman-Fried committed, quote, fraud on a massive scale, took more than $10 billion from unsuspecting customers, and doubled down to plug losses at his hedge fund Alameda Research when its crypto investments began to lose steam last year. 3 other central questions were raised as points of contention in the trial, which may last up to 6 weeks. 1. Was the collapse of FTX due to fraud or a smear job? Defense lawyer Mark Cohen said the Bahamas-based FTX was a casualty of a broader downturn across the cryptocurrency sector, and public attacks from rivals such as Binance and the crypto press led to a run on FTX. The prosecutor said that was an excuse for fraud. Another point of contention were ties with Alameda nefarious or business as usual. The jurors also heard from the prosecution that Bankman-Fried stole customer funds in 2 ways: by duping FTX customers into sending money intended for their trading accounts to Alameda, and through a secret special privilege embedded in FTX software that let Alameda make unlimited withdrawals. Cohen said prosecutors had misconstrued instances of Alameda performing functions for FTX and disagreed the software was nefarious. The prosecution and defense also clashed over the role of Caroline Ellison, Alameda chief executive and Bankman-Fried's on and off romantic partner, whether she was to blame for some of the wrongdoing or just a front for Bankman-Fried to carry out his actions at Alameda Research. Prosecutors are expected to call Ellison and 2 former members of Bankman-Fried's inner circle executives Nishant Singh and Gary Wang to testify against him. All 3 have pleaded guilty and agreed to cooperate with prosecutors.
A key witness in the FTX fraud trial arrived at a New York City court on Tuesday to testify against founder Sam Bankman-Fried. Caroline Ellison was the chief executive officer of Bankman-Fried's hedge fund Alameda Research, and at one point, his girlfriend. Ellison testified on Tuesday that the former crypto mogul directed her and others to defraud customers of his FTX exchange by taking their money without their knowledge. She portrayed Bankman-Fried as a very ambitious person who had no qualms sharing misleading financial information with lenders. She also said he became preoccupied with a rivalry with another crypto exchange, Binance, and thought he had a chance of one day becoming president of the United States. During nearly 3 hours of testimony, Ellison said the hedge fund she ran, Alameda Research, had systems set up for using FTX customer money. And she testified that Alameda took some $10 billion in FTX customer funds to repay debts and make investments. Ellison said her former boss, quote, was the one who set up these systems that allowed Alameda to take the money, and he was the one who directed us to take customer money to repay our loans. On Wednesday, she said that Bankman-Fried directed her to falsify Alameda's balance sheets. The aim was to keep lenders at bay as cryptocurrency markets hit a downturn in 2022. Tearing up as she described the final days before FTX declared bankruptcy, Ellison said she felt indescribably bad about the harm caused to FTX customers and employees. But, she added, its collapse lifted the dread hanging over her, saying, quote, I felt a sense of relief that I didn't have to lie anymore. Prosecutors accuse Bankman-Fried of plundering billions in FTX customer funds to prop up Alameda, buy real estate, and donate more than $100 million to U.S. political campaigns. He has pleaded not guilty to 7 counts of fraud and conspiracy. Ellison, meanwhile, has pleaded guilty to fraud charges and agreed to cooperate with the prosecution. On Wednesday, Ellison also testified that Bankman-Fried had suggested boosting FTX's market share by getting regulators to crack down on rival crypto exchange Binance. She said watchdogs had promised Bankman-Fried that a Binance crackdown was coming, but did not elaborate. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission sued Binance and its founder in June 2023, alleging that they commingled and diverted customer funds. Binance and its founder have denied those allegations.
So what's the summary and conclusion today? Well, unfortunately for Sam Bankman-Fried, things are not looking too good. Everybody else in this case has pleaded guilty. All of his friends, all of his associates, and his ex-girlfriend have all said, yes, we did it, we're really sorry, we won't do it again. However, he's still living in denial. He's saying that he did nothing wrong, that they made a few mistakes, and that nothing fraudulent happened, which doesn't really explain where all the money went to. And also, all of the people who are testifying in court are standing up and pointing the finger firmly at him, saying it was all Sam Bankman-Fried's fault. We didn't have anything to do with it. He told us what to do. He was the genius. He was the mastermind. It's all his fault. And unfortunately for Sam Bankman-Fried, this case is so high profile that everybody is already aware of it. And we are talking billions of dollars. He was living the high life, buying penthouse apartments in the Bahamas, apparently flying in food from overseas when they fancied something different for lunch, really living the life of luxury. And unfortunately, all of the clients were funding that lifestyle. And that isn't going to sit well with any jury. And I think the fact that Sam Bankman-Fried is claiming that he's not guilty and is going to stand up in front of that jury and say that none of this was his fault and that people didn't really understand what was happening is also not going to sit well with any of those jurors. So I think there's an extremely high likelihood that he may get found guilty, and it is possible that he could be given over 100 years in jail. And even though he's a relatively young man now, it's very unlikely that he will be able to outlive that sentence. So hopefully you've enjoyed this slightly shorter and different type of episode. If you have, then please give me a thumbs up. Thank you for watching this video all the way through to the end. And here's something to put a smile on your face.